You know what I could really go for right now? Literally anything that comes in a McDonald's carton, wrapper, or bag. Or a McDonald's cup. Yes, any of those items should do it.
We've got your cravings covered. Now stop in for the flaky Filet-O-Fish, the crispy snack wrap, or large fries for just $2.99. Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Another checkered flag for the books. Time to celebrate with Chumba. Jump in at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
There are heroes and there are legends. Heroes come and go. Legends never die. We usually say that you cannot become a legend before death. These are living legends. If the legends fall silent, who will teach the children of our ways? Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 5, brought to you by Titan Sensor, is proud to present The Legends. Sun Coaches is proud to partner with Titan Sports for the next 4 seasons on Sun Coaches Podcast. Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X at Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 5, the Legends Series. And to start it off, I could think of nobody better than Coach Alan Chadwick at Marist High School. Thanks for joining me, Coach.
Thank you so much. I enjoy being here.
Well, Coach, I could spend half of the episode going over all the accolades, all of the accomplishments, but just start by telling everybody where you grew up and where you went to high school.
Well, I'm from Decatur. Grew up in Decatur, born and raised there. Went to Decatur High School. Had three older brothers that were in front of me. They were all pretty athletic, and so I was always following in their footsteps, always getting beat up by them and beat by them in every game that we played. And so I guess that developed an edge to me of not enjoying losing and developing harder and working harder to be better and to get better. But 2 of my brothers, Walter and Dennis, both had very, very successful high school careers. And then actually Dennis was actually one of the first parade All-Americans that they started back in the 60s or so. And then they both went on and played at the University of Tennessee. And then I was behind Dennis. I was only a year behind Dennis, so I didn't get to play as much in high school as a starter until after he had graduated.
Which high school did y'all go to?
Decatur High School.
Oh, Decatur. I'm sorry.
Right. And excuse me, but one of our coaches there, in my early years, and then through Walter Dennis's career, was Franklin Brooks, and he was a really good player down at Georgia Tech under Bobby Dodd. Actually was the most valuable player in the Sugar Bowl when Tech went to the Sugar Bowl in those early, probably late 50s, I would say, 58, 59, something like that. And he had a really good impact on our family and my brothers and myself, and actually became real good friends with my dad. They did a lot of different things together. They'd go fishing together and things like that. But my mom and dad both got divorced when I was in the 3rd grade. And we lived in my mother's house. So we were 4 boys and my dad in the back of my mother's house, and my mother's house, which was my grandmother. We lived there for a good while, and then I guess it was about the 8th grade we moved out and got our own place. And so we didn't have much, we were just hardworking and true Americans, that type of thing. And so we learned how to appreciate what we had, work hard for what we got, and had chores to do, and had to make my 50 cents or $1 a week or something doing the chores around the house, whatever. But it was a great place. We always considered Decatur at that time Mayberry, just a really good place to grow up and to play ball and, football, basketball, baseball, all the different seasons going from one to the other. And then after I finished at Decatur, I went to University of Georgia for 2 years. Coach Dooley was the coach there. I never really quite got the chance I thought I deserved, and so I knew I was good enough to play somewhere, so I transferred to East Tennessee State up in Johnson City. And the reason I went to East Tennessee State was that Coach Brooks, who was one of my high school coaches, had gotten into college coaching, and he was assistant coach up there. So that was kind of the connection that drew me up to East Tennessee. Went up there and had to do a transfer year. I actually had to do at Georgia, had to do a freshman year, and then I got a redshirt at Georgia. So then when I transferred to East Tennessee, I had to do a transfer year, sit-out year. So it's 3 years of, putting your dues in, playing the scout team quarterback and getting beat up and chased around and all that kind of stuff.
So you were a quarterback?
Yes. And had a couple of good years. My junior and senior year at East Tennessee, we led the conference, Ohio Valley Conference, in offense for 2 years. Led the league in passing for 2 years. And then got drafted by the Bears, Chicago Bears, in the 8th round in 1974. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and tried to transition that into a professional career, but I think coaches had another plan.
Well, what was that? What was that like? I mean, coming from Atlanta, going to Chicago. I mean, I know you got to travel with college and everything, but how awesome was that?
That was pretty neat. I'd never been to a city quite like Chicago before, and we had never really even traveled much as a family. The only thing we ever did was go down to Florida for, 3 or 4 or 5 day vacation. So getting to Chicago, it was pretty overwhelming, I think, and quite different. Just a whole different, completely different feel from what you get down in the South and what you're used to and what you've grown up with. So I thought I had a pretty good preseason. Did some good things in a couple of scrimmage games, exhibition games, whatever you want to call them. And but they had different ideas, and I kept another quarterback over me. So went back to school, went back to East Tennessee. You're driving from Chicago back to East Tennessee, trying to figure out what the heck you're going to do next. So I got back down there and finished out continued working on my degree, and was a graduate assistant for him that year. And then that next following spring, Washington Redskins were looking for somebody. So I signed with the Redskins as a free agent. And at that time, this was right after Sonny Jurgensen had retired. So they had Billy Kilmer was their starting quarterback, Joe Theismann was their backup, and they didn't have a third. So I signed with them thinking I had a pretty good shot of just trying to latch on and make the team. And then about 3 weeks after I signed, this is when George Allen was the head coach. About 3 weeks after I signed, they signed Randy Johnson, who was the Falcons' first quarterback. He had been in the league, 6, 7 years, something like that, and was kicking around. So I knew when they signed Randy Johnson that my chances were going to be a little bit more limited, because George Allen, being the head coach, he always liked veterans. He would always trade his younger players and didn't draft younger players. He would always trade those drafts to get veteran players. So I knew that was going to be a kind of kind of a long shot, but I went ahead and went anyway, hoping maybe I could show up good at camp and they might trade one of the other guys, because at that time Theismann was just in a backup, and then somebody might be looking for him to be a starter or something like that somewhere. So, but that didn't turn out that way. I got cut again about two or three weeks just before the season started. So again, I'm driving back from Washington back to East Tennessee, trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. So
But you always had a plan.
Well, yeah, I was just go back to school and see if I could GA, that type of thing. Keep working on my degrees and my master program, this, that, and the other.
Well, let me ask you this, because I've asked everybody this. Did you always know you wanted to coach if playing didn't work out? Or did you go to school to do something else?
I don't really, no. I guess in the back of my mind, I thought I was going to be a coach, but first and foremost, I wanted to be a player.
Right.
And you have that direction and you have that goal. And I didn't really think about a whole lot other than that. It wasn't like I had my whole life mapped out in front of me, like I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was kind of just going from one stage to the other. And, but things have always worked out for me. I've been one of the luckiest guys in the world that things kind of work out, regardless of how many times I screw up and make mistakes. Things have always kind of worked out for me, and that's a testament to the people that have been involved in my life and have been a part of my life and have helped me along the way. But like I said, I was driving back from Washington to East Tennessee, and again got a chance to be a student assistant, graduate assistant, and continue working on that. And then that December. This was December of 1975. I got a call from my dad. He was back in Atlanta, and he says one of the high schools here was looking for a coach. And the way he found that out, it was through a poker game. My dad was in the kind of a coach's poker game.
What's up, fools? Main event Jay Uso here from the WWE. When it's just me between matches, it's day one-ish. And that means it's Chumba time. With hundreds of casino-style games and new titles arriving weekly, there's always something fresh to try at Chumba Casino. The daily boosts make it even more fun. And have me about to get them all during my downtime. Ready for a fun way to chill out and enjoy a few minutes for yourself? Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T's and C's. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
Game type group. Although my dad was an insurance salesman, he just got to know those coaches from Decatur, Coach Brooks and some of the others, but also Dave Hunter, Ray Allen, some other guys like that, other coaches throughout the state. They had a Wednesday night poker club. So dad called, said, listen, Dean Hargis, head football coach at Marist and athletic director, lost one of his coaches mid-season took a college job, and he needs somebody to come in and fill in and finish out the year. And this was in December 75. So I came down and interviewed, went back up to East Tennessee. A day or two later, they called me back, said, you got the job. So I had to pack up and redirect and move back to Atlanta and moved back into the house with my dad and started working at Marist. Started the job on January the 13th, 1976. And part of the stipulation for the job was to take over as a middle school wrestling coach as well. And I didn't know anything about wrestling. I had never wrestled. We didn't even have that program at Decatur when I was in high school. I said, okay. Well, I had a PE class. I had a PE class that day. And I had this little seventh grader in my PE class named Henry Murphy. And Henry was on the wrestling team. And I told Henry, I said, listen, we go to this match today. I want you to sit right there next to me and you tell me what to do. So we'd pack up and take off over to Westminster for a wrestling match. And they're starting to set up the mats, tape them down, pull out the tables, the chairs, pull out the bleachers, all that kind of stuff. So I go over and introduce myself to the other wrestling coach from Westminster. I say, Coach, where are the ropes that go around the mat? And he looked at me And he says, "Yeah, right, buddy. He thought I was setting him up or something. I was totally serious. That's the only thing I had to say." So
you were looking for Harley Race to come walking through.
yeah. Oh, wow. So, we started the match, and I don't know if you've ever been to a middle school wrestling match or not, but when that starts, it's just chaos. I mean, everybody's screaming and yelling, and it's just unbelievable. So Henry's right there sitting next to me, and he's going, the first match, he's going, shoot to half. And I'm saying, Henry, what are you saying? He said, shoot to half. I said, okay. And I'll start howling, shoot to half. We ended up winning the match. I didn't know anything about what I was doing. I didn't know how to keep score. I didn't know what the calls were, anything like that.
But may the record show that Henry Murphy was Coach Alan Chadwick's first assistant coach ever.
Yeah. But Bud Murray was the head wrestling coach at Marist at that time, and he was just a super great guy. And we had an office up together up on the stage in the gymnasium, and he would show me a couple of moves during the day, and then I'd take it to the practice that afternoon and show the kids how to do it. And then I'd get out there and wrestle with them and things like that. And then I would, after our practice was over, I'd go back down in the wrestling room where it was 110 degrees and just kicking that heat up so high those guys could lose weight. And I'd go down there and wrestle some of the older kids, the varsity kids, just to help me learn more about the sport. And I regret that time now because my neck is so stiff and sore I can't even turn to see traffic in the car. And those guys putting the front 3/4 on me and half Nelsons and cranking my neck every which way. So I'm regretting those workouts. I'm down there thinking I'm getting a great workout and I'm keeping myself in shape, and I'm being tough and all that, but I'm paying for it now. So, but I had some great mentors at Marist. Dean Hargis had been there for 19 years as a head coach and athletic director. He was a very, very respected coach throughout the state. We went to about 5 state championship games at that time. Lost them all, but was right there in every single game and had chances to win. Had some really good teams. Like I said, Bud Murray was the wrestling coach and the golf coach and assistant football coach and old paratrooper from the Marines. And he just a really unique guy, and all the players and wrestlers and golfers, they all just loved him. Jerry Queen was the head baseball coach. I did lower level baseball for about 3 or 4 years, my early years there at Marist. And Ron Bell was head basketball coach, who was in the Georgia Athletic Coaches Hall of Fame, and won 3 state championships at Marist. We had an office together, and he was just a really neat guy. He was a part Indian, Cherokee Indian, and from Ringo, and really meticulous coach that really kind of showed me the details of coaching and breaking things down into simpler forms and making sure that you had a process and that you had a step increase in terms of what you were doing on a daily basis. And preparation. His preparation was unbelievable. His basketball scout reports would be 10, 12 pages long, and watch films with his players and things like that as well. So I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate. From high school, I had really good coaching. And in college, coaches that really cared about me. And then, of course, at Marist, the mentors that I had there that showed me the ins and outs of coaching and how to do things the right way. And being around other people that were so driven and good at what they do, and great teachers and great people. So that was, like I said, I've been fortunate to do that. And then when you transition over to what I've got now at Marist with my staff, it's unbelievable. I mean, the expertise, the knowledge, and the teaching ability of these coaches is unreal. of my 26 coaches, we got 7th grade all the way up through 12th. 26 coaches total on the staff. About 12 of them have come back to teach and coach at Marist and played for us. And so they know our system, they know our kids, they know what we're trying to get accomplished. And they know what we can and can't do in terms of our abilities and our chemistry, our team chemistry, our coaching chemistry that we have is unbelievable. These guys are like my best friends, my best buddies now, even though they were guys that I coached when they came through. So
what was your first football coaching job as a young coach?
Those 2 years at East Tennessee State.
Oh, no. I mean at Marist, like when you came in, like for the young coaches to hear that, they threw you in 7th grade wrestling. What was your football job?
Well, I was an offensive coordinator. The fact that I played quarterback and played college ball and tried out in the pros for 2 years and then GA.
So they figured you knew a little something.
Yeah. And of course, I had 2 other very experienced offensive coaches with me on that staff. Bud Murray was a running back coach, and then Jerry Quinn was offensive line coach, and he was the head baseball coach at that time. So it was us 3 starting out on offense, and I was calling the plays and doing the backfield. And although I was not an option quarterback, I was a throwback, drop back quarterback, and had a good arm, and that was my expertise. But then I took this job, and then at that time, Georgia Tech was running the wishbone with Pepper Rogers, and that's where Coach Hargis had gotten some of his system from in terms of implementing the option. But those early years, they had run it for 1 or 2 years before I got to Marist, so they knew a little bit about what they were doing. But we didn't read the option. It was all just predetermined. We'd predetermine give to the fullback. We'd predetermine pull and pitch. We'd predetermine lead with the quarterback keeper, things like that. And we had some counters and some power stuff and a little bit of toss stuff, things like that. But it was very simplistic, and we were in the true wishbone set, all backs in, power set. So I was fortunate to be around those guys, and we did it step by step. We didn't try to do too much. We had good kids that were tough, physical, and hardworking, and smart, and we had some good years. As a matter of fact, that first year, 76, fall of 76, we played Woodward in the regular season and beat them, Woodward Academy, and came back. At that time, you had to win the region championship. You had to play a region championship game, and so we played them. And at that time, we had penetration. Didn't have the overtime rules. You had penetration. Each team would kick off to each other in 2 halves, with 5-minute halves. And we got the ball in the first overtime, drove down to about their 45-yard line, 43-yard line, something like that. And then we got to kick off to them. They drove down. They had a really good football team. Graham Hickson was their coach. And they beat us by 2 feet on penetration.
Oh, God.
And they went on and played for the state championship and lost to Avondale in a really, really close game. So that was a tough one, and I guess that was the kind of thing that just flipped a switch for me that, man, this is a good place. We got good kids. We got good families. I mean, I got a good job. I'm around good coaches, and so I stayed there for 9 years as assistant at Marist under Dean Hargis, and really taught me a lot. Taught me a lot about how to set up practice plans and how to go about doing things the right way. And
hey, it's Bubba Wallace from 2311 Racing. You know what feels like forever? Sitting on a plane waiting for takeoff. Good thing I've got Chumba Casino. With daily boost and social casino games on tap, this is the kind of fun that makes time fly. Why not turbocharge your downtime? Play now at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Just the day in, day out procedurals that we stuck to, and we use some of those still today, just in terms of how we set up our weekly practices on a daily basis and go about our business. So it was very, very instrumental in my development as a coach, because you come in, you think you know everything, and you find out you don't know anything, and you have to be willing to swallow your pride and learn and listen a little bit too. And I think that's what I did.
So when did you take over as the head coach?
I took over in 1985, the summer of 1985. And this is what was interesting. Dean Hargis had a little bit of a falling out with our administration at that time. He thought they were kind of trying to de-emphasize some athletics a little bit. So he just up and quit and resigned right at the end of the school year. And this was in early June, and he had resigned. And so I go in and put my name in for it. So I want this job, this and the other, but they opened it up and interviewed other people, and actually even offered T. McFerrin the job. But I think he turned it down, and they came back and gave it to me on an interim basis. And so that first fall of 85, we did pretty well. We lost to Roswell mid-season, and then again came back, played them for region championship, and lost that game in the playoffs. At the end of the regular season, when we made the playoffs, that's when they announced me as the permanent head coach. So I was an interim that whole first year. That's kind of something I've been trying to forget all these years. But anyway.
Kind of got in your crawl a little bit.
Yeah, kind of pissed me off a little bit. But it worked out for the best.
Right.
So,
I learned real quick. I've never gotten to meet you in person, but y'all came down to Perry a couple of years ago, mm-hmm. and you were coming off at halftime, and I was standing with a bunch of coaches, and Coach Shofty was on your staff then, and I was there to support him, buddy of mine. Y'all were coming off, and all the coaches were trying to tell you something, and you weren't responding. And you had this look on your face like, if y'all don't get away from me,
yeah,
I'm going to choke every one of you. And you just happened to look where I was standing, and I immediately just started looking at the ground like playing tic-tac-toe in the dirt. I was like, I'm not making eye contact with him because he is not happy right now.
Well, I think a lot of people got that impression of me, totally 24/7.
And it wasn't like terrible. Something had happened toward the end of the half, and
Well, we fumbled 3 straight times in a row after we had a lead, and we fumbled 3 times in a row. And
you were pissed.
Yeah. So yeah, I tend to get that way. I put my head down and I get inside my head a little bit, and I head down, nose to the grindstone type thing. And so,
well, you're a competitor. I mean, you always have been.
Yeah. All right. So, interesting story. Getting back to this interim to permanent head coach. That was in 85. I was still teaching 5 classes. Had a homeroom class, 7th grade homeroom class, and I had gone over there to Marist, to the office every day during the summer. I was going in there and just trying to get my handle on everything and being prepared and going through all the details of setting up the season and everything else. And so I'd come hook sliding into homeroom class late every day. Just because I was nose to the grindstone. And the class would be bouncing around, jumping all over the place, and I'd have to make them sit down and shut up. And listen to the announcements. And there was one girl in this class, one little bitty 7th grade blonde-haired girl, blue eyes, just was a fireball. And she wouldn't sit down. She wouldn't shut up. And I would draw a circle. It was a chalkboard back then. I'd draw a circle up on the chalkboard, and she'd be misbehaving. So I'd make her stand up there to the chalkboard and put her nose up in that circle up on her tiptoes the whole class period. And she and I just tended to hit it off, and she kept after me that whole year about, listen, Coach, I got somebody you need to meet. I was not married at this time. I said, Coach, I got somebody you need to meet. You need to meet somebody. I said, Tamsin, and her name was Tamsin. I said, Tamsin, I don't have time for this. Leave me alone. I got too much going on right now. Okay. I was trying to make this, as good as I possibly could. So she just would not let up every day. She was after me, and I said, finally, late that season, it was week 8, week 9. I said, okay, tell her to come to a ball game. And so what happened was this person that she wanted to set me up with and meet was basically her babysitter, because her mother, Tamsin's mother, was a single mom and was working with Eastern Airlines. And she needed somebody to pick up Tamsin at 3:00 in the afternoon and take her home and watch her until her mom got home till 7:00 that night or whatever. So this person she sets me up with is her babysitter. And so I said, okay, bring her to a game. I'll meet her and we'll kind of go from there. So she did one night, and she brought her to a game, and then I met her. And then, okay, so we set something up for the next week, week 11, first round of the playoffs. I said, okay, we're playing at home. We'll go out after the game or something like that. So I met her, and we've been together ever since. so a little 7th grader set me up with my wife, and then, as it turns out, my wife and I set Tamsin up with her present husband, who is my defensive coordinator, Jeff Ewart.
Oh, that's awesome.
So here's the story. I get my job at Marist through a poker game, and then I get set up by a 7th grader with my wife, and then we turn around and set that person up with one of my coaches. So it's like full circle,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how many generations of kids are you on now? Have you gotten to 3rd generation yet?
Not quite. I think I'm pretty close to that. Certainly 2 generations, former players of, sons of former players I'm coaching. Yes. But it's 49 years at Marist now. 49 is my 49th year.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so everybody asks me how much longer I'm going to coach, and it's like, man, I don't know. There's still some great things about it. I really enjoy the season. I enjoy the football season, everything about it. I enjoy getting up early, going to work, practicing, meetings, films, workouts with kids. I enjoy all that. The off season sometimes is not as much fun. Like right now, it's like just all the thousands of details you got to do. And during the football season, it's only football. You don't get inundated with salesmen and all these clinics and all these different things that come your way, or equipment. It's
podcasts.
Podcasts. It's just football. It's just football, and that's. But when the off season comes, it's equipment, it's recruiting, it's scheduling, it's hiring coaches, it's it's just all the other things that come your way. And the hardest part is those 6:30 a.m. workouts, in the winter and the spring, and then in the summer too. Those tend to wear on you a little bit. But the plan right now is to coach another year and then kind of go from there and see where we are.
What are some things about Georgia high school football that have changed over the years that you don't like?
Well, I've been around enough that
you've probably seen it change a lot, but
yeah, it's changed a lot. The game has changed so much just from the X's and O's part of it. But I don't know. The thing that bothers me right now is with the spread offenses and holding our offensive linemen, what they've allowed them to get away with because of what is allowed on Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoons. And football's not played the way it used to be played. When your blocking was, you put your fists together and put your elbows out and you block somebody like that. Now it's all hands and get your hands on them and hold them and grab them up underneath their shoulder pads and we don't have that kind of size at Marist to match up with these big linemen that everybody's got nowadays. And we're committed to having quickness and speed and athleticism on defense. So we get mauled a little bit. And when they allow them to hold and just grab and tilt you and turn you and all that kind of stuff, it makes it really, really tough on us. So that's the game has changed, and I think the rules itself have been modified or adjusted to keep pace with the way the game is being played. And yet we're still 4-point stance on offense, come off, combo, B gap, execute, try to get 3 and 4 yards per play. We do go to the spread some, but it's not our bread and butter, and we try to use it as a change up, give people a little bit more things to work for and prepare for. But when it comes,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, what over 50 years, what's your overall coaching philosophy? Has it changed, or have you?
No, I wouldn't say it's changed at all. We're still we want to be tough. We want to be physical. We have to be. Both sides of the ball. We work really hard on fundamentals, day in, day out. We break things down into the first step, stance and starts and first steps, and we go back and repeat those a lot. With our offense and the personnel that we have, we feel like running the option is our best advantage to overcoming superior personnel. And we've beaten a lot of teams that had a lot better personnel than we have overall. Just because we're disciplined, we don't want to make mistakes in terms of our offense. Of course, it's the same thing everybody's got, but it really makes it more important for us in our system that we're consistent, that we're tough, we're physical. We have to prepare physically during the week because we got to be low if we're going to have success on either offense or defense, particularly up front. We got to be low. And we got to come off the ball and get after people. And then we got to execute with our backfield, make right decisions, and not turn the ball over. Now, defensively, we've changed 1,000%. When we first started, traditionally you're seeing a lot more running teams in the I or the power I or split back veers and things like that, which you don't see power I. You don't see much I anymore. And you definitely don't see split back veer. So we've gone to 4-3, which allows us to do a lot more different things. We'll change fronts, multiple fronts, according to what we feel like we need to do, down a distance, whatever. We'll come with a 6-1 or 5-3 or 50 front or whatever it might be. It's 4-4 stacks. And we try to do a lot with our coverages in terms of disguising coverages, rolling coverages, overloading sets. If they give you an overloaded set, we're really going to stem down to it and stack it and roll the coverage down to it, things like that. So we have changed a lot there. We want to show a lot of blitzes, a lot of fronts. We're going to stem from one front to another, a lot of slants, twists up front. We got a really great defensive staff that does a great job of breaking down opponents' tendencies, formations, plays, et cetera, and then our Coach Ewart, our defensive coach, is really good at dialing up defenses in terms of percentages of what we feel like is coming our way. So.
Who are some of your favorite coaches to compete against? I mean, I know you had there was a time there, at least when I was younger, it was always you guys in Thomas County Central and Coach Pilcher.
Yeah.
It was going to come down to one of you two, and, that was an epic game and split back against, Flexbone, and, man, it was fun to watch. But who were some guys that you just loved competing against?
Well, I wouldn't say I loved competing against them because half the time they were beating my butt, let's just put it this way, respectful, respect for those guys. That's a classic. Coach Pilcher and his staff. And you know what? We, as competitive as we both were against each other and the staffs against each other, we've developed a great relationship with the people of Thomas County. They're very passionate about their football. They do a great job. Like I said, we've developed a real good relationship with them, a very high mutual respect. Certainly Graham Hickson at Woodward Academy. Of course, I was mostly assistant when we played them until, a couple of 3 or 4 years in my early years, 85, 86, 87, when Dean had retired and I took over as head coach. So Graham Hickson, Woodward Academy, you talk about a long, storied rivalry right there. And that's a lot like Thomas County, that we've always had very, very mutual respect for each other. Johnny Stallings was a coach down there, assistant, and then became head coach. And it was always back and forth. It was always closely contested battles. And the record was pretty much even through all those years. Jerry Romberg at Westminster, who just recently retired. We don't always match up with Westminster because of classifications, but Jerry's a really, really good coach and a really great defensive coach. And we knew we were in for a battle when we were going to have to play them because of how well he schemed up and the toughness he instilled in his players from a defensive standpoint. Let's think. Ray Manus, when he was at Roswell, did a great job. Had a great staff. Franklin Stevens, when he was at Tucker, we matched up with them numerous times. And we beat them in 2017, I think it was. We beat them 35-0 in the regular season. And came back and played them in the state championship in the Dome. And they beat us 15-8. So, that was a tough one. Gosh, let's think. Never did match up with T. McFerrin. Gene Cathcart, when he was at Habersham Central and then Jefferson, when we played in the state championship in 2020. So those are some pretty significant coaches there. Got a great deal of respect for what they've done and how they've developed their programs. I tell you, a guy right now I respect more than anybody is Travis Nolan at Jefferson. He's only been in the state here for 8, 9, 10 years or so, but he is just a really, truly great guy, and we've gotten to know each other pretty well and exchange ideas back and forth. And we matched up with him last year, first ball game, and then we're going up to Jefferson this year to play them. So,
well, Coach, someone told me the other day that one of their coolest memories about you was when they were at Noonan and LaGrange and Troup County, and you needed film in the playoffs of Griffin, and
Yeah.
you came and got the film. You didn't send an assistant. You personally yourself went and got the film, and he was like, he couldn't believe that you yourself came and got the film. That was just neat to him that you could have sent anybody to go get the film. But
well, it's a little bit different situation in our place. Those guys that are on my staff that teach at Marist, they've got their hands pretty full. If they're teaching science or math or English or whatever, they've got a full-time job at that, and they better do that job first and foremost if they're going to be at Marist for very long. So I don't try to ask those guys to do more than they really need to. I want them to do their job in the classroom, and then they do their X's and O's on the field and practice. And then, of course, a good many of our coaches are community coaches. Okay, on defense alone, 3 of the 4 coaches are community coaches. On offense, it's only myself and Dan Perez are on staff at Marist. The rest of my 4 or 5 guys on offense are community coaches. So they work other jobs and then come into Marist at 3 o'clock in the afternoon until we're done. So again, it's like I hate to ask those guys to do much more than what they're already doing. And that's another reason why the off season is so difficult, because it's primarily me doing the off season. I don't want those guys, because they got families, they got jobs, I don't want to wear them out 365 days a year, so I do the simple, easy things to take it off their plate a little bit. Yeah.
Well, when you decide to step away and you've had enough, what do you want people to remember and know and say, Coach Alan Chadwick was fill in the blank?
Consistency, and I would say that more than anything, but always competitive and disciplined, hard-nosed football teams.
Well, you've definitely done that, Coach, and it's been such a pleasure and an honor to get to sit here and listen to you tell your story, and just a privilege. I surely appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I know how much now that you don't like the off season, but I appreciate you sharing your story with us and leading off our Legends series with the story of definitely one of the, if not the most legendary coach in the state of Georgia.
Well, thank you, Chris. I certainly appreciate it. I enjoyed it immensely. If I can ever help you in any way, please feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Another checkered flag for the books. Time to celebrate with Chumba. Jump in at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.